You use a really great example, I believe, of this in your book about what happened in a small town in Missouri. And I wonder if you could speak to that for a moment. I mean, I don't think it can't be encapsulated in a moment, but to me, it's an example of exactly that.
It's really, I think, the worst example of what can happen. So it was a small town in the Boot Heel region of Missouri on the Mississippi River. Very proud town, small, and they had an aluminum smelter, an aluminum plant that was really the generator of wealth in the town. Had been there for decades. You had multi-generational people working there. Apollo, which is Leon Black's firm, came in, bought the smelter, promised to do a good job with it. 2,500 jobs. So obviously the biggest employer.
Sure.
And the biggest contributor to the tax base in the town of New Madrid.
So it was the American dream for people perhaps to grow up there, work there, get something with benefits, make, $50,000 a year. Right?
And have health care and all of the above. And pensions,
yes.
by
Oh
the
my
way.
God, right?
Yeah. So it was like the classic American story, success story, small town America.
Sure.
So Apollo comes in, they take the company over with huge amounts of debt. They immediately take out all of their money that they invested by putting debt on the company. The company had been debt-free before.
Yes.
Now it's struggling under an enormous amount of debt, has trouble meeting its expenses. Now Apollo is completely home free. Anything more they earn on the company is gravy at this point. So they start to say, okay, we need to cut jobs to meet these new expenses, these high costs. And by the way, we need a lower electricity rate. So they went to the Missouri Electricity Commission and pleaded for a lower rate. And they got it, making everyone else in Missouri pay more so they would have a lower electricity rate. So they cut jobs, they get a lower rate, and they bankrupt the company.
And it ends up affecting the schools as well, correct?
Yes, because this smelter was such a big contributor to the tax base, i.e. its taxes paid for parks, firefighters, schools. Because of that, the school teachers had to pay their own health insurance because when it went bankrupt, what the school was owed by the company was not paid. So the circle of pain here is vast. And then you have this tiny slice of people who got rich. And is that the kind of capitalism we want in this country?
Well, you describe it as capitalism on steroids.
Right.
And I think that is a textbook example, right?
Textbook.
It's heartbreaking when we hear that.
But you never hear about those people.
No.
Right, Meredith? I mean, who cares about what happens in New Madrid, Missouri?
You do.
Well, I do, because you just multiply that times however many.
I think what people then will say is, oh, well, I don't work at the smelter. What do I care?
Right.
Well, you should care because your kids might go to that school or your wife might work at the school. And so there is a trickle down effect.
Totally.
And so I would imagine then that Leon Black was probably just pacing at night, couldn't sleep, thinking about all these poor people who, he had ruined.
I wish I knew that. I tried to find that out, but he didn't want to talk to me.
So in your book, you say you tried to talk to the heads of 4 of the different private equity firms.
Well, the big ones that we're writing about.
KKR, Carlyle, right? Apollo.
Blackstone, Apollo, KKR, Carlyle. Yeah, we tried to talk to all of them and, did get some interactions, some comments, but didn't get one-on-one interviews, unfortunately. So.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I have a theory, but I don't want to theorize.
That's okay. I don't want to make you theorize.
I think that they're very happy to talk with reporters who are in the business of celebrating their deals and talking up their, transactions. But when it comes to people who are a little bit more skeptical, I just don't think they generally like to come to the table.
My question is, and I get this a lot on TikTok, and I especially think about it with a Leon Black, who really only had to kind of step away once his very close ties to Jeffrey Epstein were exposed.
Right.
And I think that's still trying to be determined as to why Jeffrey Epstein was getting so much money from Leon Black.
Which we may never know.
Yes. My question then is, why is enough never enough? I get this all the time.
You have hit on brilliantly the question that I ask myself constantly. We do not seem to understand in this country the meaning of enough. What is enough? It's always more. I always need more. And this is fed a lot by reporters in my business who celebrate the people who always want more and who always, are going gangbusters for the next deal. And there's a lot about this economy in this country that's upside down. The disrespect for people who do real jobs,
Right.
versus the reverence that people have for people who just push paper around and make financial transactions that end up hurting other people and benefiting themselves. So things are upside down a lot, but this concept of enough is just something that cannot be driven home hard enough. These people don't need more. These billionaires couldn't spend the interest on what they have, right? In a million years. And yet they still persist and want more and want more. And people are starving and people can't get health care and people can't send their children to schools. It's a tragedy.
It is. And then when you see some of these people, making huge donations to hospitals, to cancer research, all of those things are great and important and need to be funded. But it's sort of like, is the call coming from inside the house? Like, if you guys are contributing so much, to education, what about the small town in Missouri where the school teachers can't pay their health insurance? It's sort of interesting.